King in here. Keep it funny. Yes, yo, that's my baby. That's my baby. Get it?
Tell me. It been 20 years, bro. It been 20 years. I figure if I wasn't built like that, it'll show by now. It been 20 years, bro. I done faced every challenge motherfucker that life could throw at me, man. You ain't seen me fold, you ain't seen me break.
Hey. I need that at the warehouse.
This time it ain't about no late night brawls or court drama. This one's way wilder. King's own baby mama just set the internet on fire after allegedly dropping what fans are calling a gay tape of him. And just when it couldn't get any hotter, Boosie slid in laughing, taking shots at T.I about how he raised his son. Whether that tape's real or fake doesn't even matter, because the internet runs in a mess. Those whispers about King's sexuality have been out there for years. People have been saying he looked a little fruity. People have been claiming that the baby was just a cover story. And now, this supposed leak just reignited every rumor like a match to gasoline. And it only gets nastier. Fans are digging up old gossip from every corner. Some are throwing around claims that King ain't even the real dad of his child, while others say his baby mama had the kid just to secure that Harris check.
But what I'm saying is, they wasn't.
You can talk like that outside.
Hey, I can talk how the fuck I want to wherever I'm at. I'm on live, shawty. Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me. This ain't your fucking restaurant. This ain't your fucking restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my pocket right now. I ain't tripping on you. I ain't tripping. Get the hell out of my face. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. Who the hell is he? What's your name?
What's your name?
My name King. You know it and your mama know it. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. File your shit.
Come back.
What? On game what? On game what? Come here. Come here. And I'll show you what I do. Come here. I'll show you what I do. Come here. Come here. Come on.
And the
On top of that, critics swear King's been playing dress up in a gangster lifestyle he never lived. And Boosie jumping in just cranked it all up. Instead of firing at King directly, Boosie threw shade at T.I, sending a clear message. This ain't just petty gossip, this is family beef at its finest. But here's the kicker. Before that whole tape ever hit the blogs, King was already drowning in baby drama. From the second his baby mama announced she was pregnant, people were side-eyeing the situation heavily. The loudest thing everybody pointed out, she's older than him. That fact alone had the internet roasting her, calling her out like, "Girl, you knew exactly what you were doing." Then came that viral clip, King, his baby mama, and their newborn, that had folks debating nonstop about what was really going on. Then the money talk took over. People swore up and down she only had that baby to lock in the Harris name. They said she saw the fame, the clout, the money, and she moved quickly to secure it. True or not, the comments wouldn't stop pouring in.
and King Harris being read his rights.
If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any of my questions or make any statements. So my question to you is, I found just a non-felony in that ashtray in the back, as well as in that basketball sleeve. So I'm gonna go over here and talk to these guys, and someone has to get charged with it. It's not you.
No, I'm not talking.
You're not gonna talk to me? I gotcha. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't.
You need anything to go with you?
My phone.
Your phone? Where's your phone at?
In the car.
We're in the car.
You search you.
I'm not looking for phones. I'm looking for drugs and guns.
Ask me to know my phone is.
What kind of phone is it?
What color is your phone?
It's a pink.
And when that baby finally came, instead of shutting the whispers down, the chatter got even louder, with folks convinced the story just wasn't adding up at all. The internet showed no mercy. Comments were flying like, He doesn't even look like a king, while others swore King was just trying too hard to prove he was grown. That's when King clapped back online, proudly calling the baby his twin and insisting he looks just like me. He even doubled down, posting up pics with captions like, "Y'all can't tell me this ain't mine." But here's the wild twist. The more the king tried to convince everybody the baby was his, the less people believed him. And it wasn't just about the baby's features. This tied right back to those old whispers about King's sexuality that have been circling for years. So when that pregnancy news first hit, a lot of fans instantly said, he's just trying to prove a point.
I gotta say something about this, bro. Dwayne Wade, you going too fucking far, dog. That is a male. A 12-year-old. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be. They don't have it figured out yet. He might meet a woman, anything at 16 and fall in love with her. But it's be gone. How you gonna, like, bro, you going too far, dog. Don't cut his off, bro. Like, bro, for real. If he gonna be gay, let him be gay. But don't cut his off, bro.
And now with that so-called tape floating around, those same folks are digging up receipts claiming, see? That baby was part of the plan from the start to shut the rumors down. That's when the whole conversation flipped. Because while some folks clowned him over the paternity mess, others pointed out this wasn't even King's first time being accused of fronting. For years, people have been saying King was play acting that gangster role, talking tough, jumping into beef, acting like he came straight out the trenches. But then reality hits. He's T.I. and Tiny's son. He grew up with money, comfort, and spent most of his childhood laid up at his grandma's house. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't exactly scream, I came up from the struggle. And King even admitted it himself. He openly said he grew up at his grandma's crib. So now, every time he hops online barking about being good, the comments flood in. Be real. They say he's forcing this street persona to hide the fact he doesn't fit that role at all. At this point, it looks like King's trapped fighting two wars at once, trying to prove he's a legit father and a legit gangster. But instead of earning respect, the doubts just keep stacking higher. And then came the spiral that made everything worse. Those infamous Waffle House clips exploded online, showing King snapping on employees right in the middle of the restaurant. He was screaming, talking reckless, threatening staff. And the internet couldn't believe this was T.I. and Tiny's son going off like that over a late-night meal. But the craziest part, his own pops jumped on Liv the very next day, basically calling him out.
With my grandma, we'll go to the house on like a weekend. They'll say, hey, we shooting today. We need y'all at the house. They'll come get me from my grandma's house. And right after we done, when the cameras go off, I'm right back to my grandma's house. Yep.
I admitted he couldn't wrap his head around why his son was beefing with a short-order cook in the first place. He said he and King's uncles already tried drilling it into him, reminding him he's living a lifestyle most people only dream of. So why drop down and throw hands with folks just out here working a job? Clearly that lesson never sank in, because King's name just kept landing in headlines for all the wrong reasons. The biggest bombshell? His arrest footage dropped online, showing exactly what went down back in 2024 when he got stopped in Georgia. Cops said he nearly smashed into a squad car pulling out of a gas station, and when they pulled him over, the whole car reeked of weed. To make it worse, he had a gun sitting right there on his hip. And when they ran his name, they found out he had an active warrant hanging over his head since way back in 2022. That warrant wasn't light either. It was tied to speeding, driving with a suspended license, and even a DUI. The court told him to show up, but he skipped out, leaving that warrant just sitting there waiting to catch him slipping. In the video, you see officers yanking him out of the car, cuffing him up, and hauling him straight to county jail. And while King didn't wild out, he actually stayed calm. The internet ate it up like a movie. To them, this was just more proof his life was spinning out fast. At that point, fans weren't just calling him reckless anymore. They were saying his whole public spiral, from the Waffle House fight to missing court to getting locked up, was really just him running from rumors he couldn't shake. And just when people thought the circus couldn't get any messier, boom! That so-called tape hit the blogs. And you already know who had to jump into the middle of it. Boosie. He just couldn't stay quiet. Instead of letting the situation play out, he allegedly started clowning T.I, throwing slick shots about how his son wound up in this mess. And the internet clocked it quick. It wasn't really about King, it was a jab straight at T.I. That's what made it even more scandalous, because Boosie ain't just some random troll online. This is the same Boosie who's built a whole rep off stirring up controversy, especially when it comes to sexuality. Don't forget, he had to apologize to his own daughter, Ivwina, after making homophobic comments when she came out as gay. He jumped on Instagram, tried to clean it up, said sorry. But everybody knew he meant what he said the first time. So when people saw Boosie jumping into King's mess, the internet wasted no time calling him out. They were like, ain't this the pot calling the kettle black? You got your own family drama and reckless comments to deal with, yet you clowning somebody else's kid? And here's where it gets even messier. Boosie's life hasn't exactly been smooth sailing either. Don't forget, he just snatched up a plea deal on those gun charges, and if anything slips, he could easily find himself right back behind bars. So the fact that he's out here trolling T.I. while his own future's hanging by a thread, that shows this ain't just about King, this is personal heat. And if you've been watching closely, you already know T.I. and Boosie have been walking on shaky ground for years. To really get why Boosie couldn't resist jumping in, you gotta rewind the story and see how the feud first sparked. It all started when Boosie went viral for his rant about Dwayne Wade's daughter after she came out as transgender. The internet flamed him for being openly transphobic. And guess who stepped up? T.I. exclamation mark. Tip hopped on Instagram telling Boosie to stay in his lane and stop obsessing over another man's child. That moment planted the seed for everything that came after. Not long after, Boosie came back swinging, this time calling T.I. a snitch over his old federal gun case. And you already know Tip wasn't gonna let that fly. He clapped back saying nobody was gonna disrespect his family and he was ready to stand on business if Boosie pushed it further. From there, the shots got uglier. That summer, Boosie turned his attention to T.I.'s parenting, especially that infamous situation where T.I. admitted he once took his daughter to the gynecologist. Boosie called him out, saying he was controlling and out of pocket. But Tip wasn't having it. He fired back fast, saying Boosie was the last man alive who should be giving out parenting advice. And that's when things fully spiraled. They weren't just tossing shade about family anymore. They were digging at each other's street credibility, questioning manhood, even tossing around snitch talk. At that point, it was obvious. This wasn't just rap banter, this was personal warfare. For a minute, it looked like the tension cooled off. Both jumped online claiming it was water under the bridge. But by 2023, that old feud sparked right back to life. Boosie straight up accused T.I. of not holding him down during his own legal mess, and Tip wasn't having it. He made it clear he was done playing babysitter. He wasn't about to defend a man who kept disrespecting him at every turn. So now, fast forward to today, it all adds up. Boosie jumping into King's scandal wasn't random, and it wasn't just him fishing for clout. It was his shot to jab T.I. right in the heart.
Bro, I mean, of course I spoke with my son. You know, me and his uncles. You know, we were perplexed by his necessity to go back and forth with the short order cook. I didn't understand why he felt he needed to stop what he was doing to engage someone who was at such another level of life. Now, I had to explain to him that, you know, when people are not living the way they hope they would live, and here you is walking in with so much freedom and luxury, and you know, people gonna posture themselves a certain way. So therefore, you're gonna have to enjoy your life. You're gonna have to remove yourself from that energy and go enjoy.
And with King already drowning in internet chaos, Boosie couldn't resist sliding in. As soon as that alleged tape started making rounds and Boosie threw in his 2 cents, the internet went savage on King. And some of the comments, straight cold-blooded. One person dropped, "He was always weird looking to me. Too bad he took after Tiny and not T.I." That cut deep. Because people have been roasting King's looks since he was young, constantly comparing him to his parents. Then another commenter went even harsher, writing, "He looks like that clown always trying to end Bart Simpson, Sideshow Bob." And just like that, the internet ran wild with it. Memes popped up everywhere. Side-by-side comparisons flooding the timeline. But the line that really flipped everything? Somebody typed, "King about to be queen." That one caught fire instantly, taking things from regular trolling to straight-up humiliation. And overnight, King became the internet's favorite punchline. That was the comment that sent everything into overdrive, because it didn't just clown King's image, it ripped open those old whispers about his sexuality that people have been throwing around for years. And that's what makes this whole situation way bigger than a random leaked clip. The internet's reaction proved those questions about King's identity never really went away. With Boosie out here adding fuel to the fire, the gossip turned into something way deeper and way more personal. At this point, it ain't just about King anymore. It's about family pride, old scars, and a long-standing grudge between T.I and Boosie that refuses to die. And now, King Harris is stuck right in the middle of a feud that looks like it won't be cooling down anytime soon. So tell me, was King unfairly dragged into his father's battle? Or is this just the price of being born in the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this with your people, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Look, man, I just glued yesterday. He stole from you? Like, he kind of like switched around, like issues or nothing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He lived with you or? Nah, he just came down and just, you know what I'm saying?
Be in our jail for 2,159 days. So, how long would you like to be able to make that decision?
I can't determine when the investigation will be over. That's up to the Broward Sheriff's Office, but I can have them, like I said, I'm just asking for a week to determine whether or not we file any sort of motion to prevent the search warrant being fulfilled.
I just can't imagine legal grounds for that.
The YNW camp just rocked the entire rap world with drama so wild it feels unreal. Word is, Borland didn't just break the code. He straight up sold out his day one with a plea deal that left Melly rotting in a cell, facing the biggest fight of his life. Loyalty gone in broad daylight. This isn't just a crack in their bond. This is betrayal at the highest level, plain and simple. Borland's decision wasn't just bending the rules. It slammed the door shut on Melly's freedom. His nightmare behind bars just got even darker, all because his so-called brother chose self-preservation over loyalty. 16 years on paper suddenly meant more to Borland than the man he came up with. And now Melly's staring at the chilling possibility of spending the rest of his days trapped inside a cold, concrete box. So how did it all spiral into this? Let's rewind to the YNW camp's darkest night. October 26, 2018. Two rappers from the crew ended up executed in what prosecutors call a heartless hit. Anthony YNW Sackchaser Williams, just 21, and Christopher YNW Juvie Thomas Jr., only 19, were found riddled with bullets inside a rented Dodge Journey in Miramar, Florida. And here's where it gets unbelievable. Prosecutors say YNW Melly and his childhood friend YNW Borland were the ones who pulled the triggers. Courtroom footage even caught the four leaving the studio that same night. The state painted it like a horror flick. Melly allegedly sitting in the back seat before turning his gun on his own crew, unloading up to 10 rounds each at close range, while Borland gripped the wheel. But it didn't stop there. The two allegedly cruised around with the bodies for nearly 2 hours, staging it as if it was a drive-by gone wrong. Shots were even blasted into the car from outside to sell the lie. Finally, with the cover-up in place, Borland drove them to Memorial Regional Hospital, where doctors could only pronounce both victims gone on arrival. The mountain of evidence prosecutors built was so heavy, it could bury anybody alive. GPS pinned them right at the crime scene. Ballistics matched shell casings to a gun tied directly to Melly, and surveillance clips showed movements that lined up too perfectly to be coincidence.
So this resting angle in this seat, you have the projectile coming in, exiting through the top of the skull, and then continuing through the windshield. Christopher Thomas was already deceased when these rounds were coming into the back of the vehicle because Christopher Thomas was what we would call crumbling. He was starting to fall, if you will. On top of that, I know that he was already deceased because the back of his back, essentially, the rounds that are in his back, have no blood in them. My determination was that this is not a drive-by shooting. The shooter is at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in.
On top of that, cell phone data shut down the whole outside shooter angle, proving it was all in-house chaos from the jump. But even with all that stacked, Melly's defense found the tiniest crack in the wall that almost turned the case upside down. When the hammer dropped on February 13th, 2019, both Melly and Borland were hit with identical charges, 2 counts of first-degree homicide. That's straight death penalty territory or life without parole. No middle ground, no mercy. The state came swinging for blood, but Melly's legal squad swore they had a bulletproof plan. His first trial finally kicked off in October 2022, and the defense clung to one lifeline. They insisted Melly wasn't even inside the car when the shots rang out. They painted it like a legit drive-by from Mystery Ops, pointing to bullet trajectories that looked like they came from outside the SUV. That alibi became the heart of everything, and shockingly, it worked, at least for a moment. By July 2023, the trial ended in a mistrial when the jury deadlocked, leaning 9-3 or 10-2 toward acquittal. For a second, it looked like Melly might actually beat the case, even with the evidence piled sky high against him. But that fantasy crashed hard on September 9, 2025. Borland, the very same co-defendant once standing shoulder to shoulder with Melly, walked into a Broward County courthouse and snatched the deal prosecutors had been dangling since September 4th. Instead of risking 5 separate life sentences, Borland folded, pleading no contest to accessory after the fact and witness tampering. His prize? 10 years locked down, plus 6 more on probation. 16 years under the system's thumb, way lighter than the eternity he was facing. But it came with the dirtiest cost possible, selling out his day one and flipping the whole game on its head. And here's the bombshell that crowned Borland the ultimate snake. Part of his deal forced him into a sworn proffer, basically laying out every detail about that night. And according to reports, Borland confirmed what prosecutors wanted all along. Melly was in that car when the shots went off, wiping out the very defense that saved him the first time around. Now the state's holding a golden ticket, an eyewitness account from the alleged driver himself, putting Melly right there when the bullets ripped through his own crew. That one statement alone crushed the entire alibi Melly's team built their case on, leaving him more exposed than ever before. And what stung even worse, the timing. Borland's trial was set to kick off the very next morning, but instead of standing firm, he folded at the buzzer like a flimsy chair. For months, he kept quiet, probably praying his lawyers could pull off a miracle. But when the walls closed in, he tapped out and signed his life away. Those proffer sessions...
It's my understanding that you want to resolve both cases today. Is that correct? And that resolution is an agreement you reached with the state, the terms of which are as follows. Number one, in the 19 case, you're going to plead no contest to both counts of accessory after the fact. In the 23 case, you're going to plead no contest to all 4 counts as charged. In exchange for that, the state is going to null process that is dropped to 2 first-degree murder cases. All right, I'm going to adjudicate you.
But in that time, Borland had to walk prosecutors step by step through the whole play, putting Melly at the scene and dragging his name deeper into the dirt. Once word spread, the streets exploded with snitch chatter that cut way deeper than usual. This wasn't just 2 co-defendants flipping on each other. This was childhood friends from Gifford, Florida, who climbed the rap game together. Even the victim's attorney, John M. Phillips, couldn't resist throwing shade online, tweeting, "As predicted, Borland took the plea. He agreed to a proffer, which means he's talking." That single post sent hip-hop fans spiraling, because in street culture, betraying your day one is the lowest move imaginable. And the bitterness? Borland signed those papers just hours before his trial was set to start, like he held on to hope until the last second, then crumbled once those life sentences loomed too close. The rap world went into full meltdown, and of course Tekashi 6ix9ine, Mr. Snitch label himself, had to jump in, posting about YNW like it was his personal victory lap. When Borland copped that plea, Tekashi wasted zero time blasting out, "YNW Melly is cooked!" And coming from a man branded as the poster boy for snitching, those words hit like a hammer. Immediately, Timelines blew up with comparisons to Gunna's controversial 2022 plea in the YSL case, roasting Borland for taking what fans are now calling a Gunna plea, just to slash down his sentence. The backlash was straight up wild. The hashtag YNWB, Orland Snitch, exploded past 500,000 mentions, with fans roasting him left and right, posting stuff like, 16 years ain't worth snitching on your brother. Others even branded him with a new name, YNW Snitchland. That betrayal cut deep because the YNW crew had always moved like family, built on loyalty, like nothing could tear them apart. But now, that image is in ashes. All because Borland folded. Even legal analyst SG Batman chimed in, warning that Borland's collapse could reshape Melly's entire trial. Meanwhile, heavy voices in hip-hop started asking the hard question. Does loyalty in rap even exist anymore? The streets were split, some saying Borland had no choice but to save himself, others swearing he should have stood tall and fought side by side with his day one. And then Borland's own lawyer, Fred Haddad, tried to run damage control, boldly telling reporters, I don't represent snitches. Cortland Henry is not a snitch, and he will not be cooperating or testifying in Melly's trial. But by then, the internet had already crowned Borland with that rat label, and no lawyer's spin could erase it. Because here's the cold reality. That proffer meant Borland was locked into spilling details about what went down that night. Everybody knew prosecutors were going to weaponize it at Melly's retrial. Now the state's got ammo to pull out his sworn words, back them up with ballistics showing 14 shots fired inside the SUV, roll the hospital footage proving no signs of a drive-by, and most damning of all, hold up Borland as the eyewitness who was right there when it all unfolded. From the moment those shots rang out to the staged drive-by cover-up, the timing has been brutal for Melly. He's been sitting in Broward County Jail since February 2019, fighting a battle that was already stacked against him. And now, with his retrial pushed all the way to January 2027, Borland's proffer is sitting like the missing puzzle piece prosecutors needed to bury him alive. Melly's dream of freedom just took a brutal hit, and the streets are buzzing. Is this deal the final nail in his coffin? This was a man who once had the rap game wrapped around his finger, and now he's staring at the terrifying chance of never breathing free air again. 6 years behind bars has already been hell, but somehow it just keeps getting darker.
So the thing is, I'm a little emotional because I just found out when all of you just found out about his trial being delayed to 2026, I guess. And I guess because of that, they are not communicating with me. So I don't know what's going on in his case. And Janelle still has no phone calls, and he has no communication whatsoever. And I'm sure he doesn't know that I don't know what decisions they're making and things that they're doing. And at this point,
The cold numbers alone will leave your jaw on the floor. As of September 10th, 2025, Melly's been sitting in a cage for 2,405 days. That's over 6.5 years stuck inside Broward County Jail without even catching a conviction. Think about it. He's already served more time waiting for trial than some people serve after sentencing. And the heartbreak cuts even deeper when you see his reactions in court. Back in January 2025, during a bond hearing, Judge John Murphy hit him with the cold math. 2,159 days locked up. The look on Melly's face went viral instantly. You could see the shock in real time, like his whole soul couldn't process losing that many years inside a concrete box. Life in Broward County Jail isn't just tough, it's straight-up psychological warfare. For Melly, protective custody means 23 hours a day trapped in a 6-by-9-foot cell. His only so-called freedom, one lonely hour of recreation, either in a cage outside or a tiny indoor gym. That's it. Day after day, year after year, his world has shrunk to 4 walls, a steel door, and time slipping away like sand through his fingers. And while being kept away from general population might protect him from getting jumped, the price is brutal. Total isolation that eats at the mind. His daily routine is pure monotony. Breakfast slides through a slot in the steel door. Dry cereal and maybe a piece of fruit. Lunch and dinner don't bring much relief. beans, rice, maybe a soggy sandwich, all eaten alone in silence inside that suffocating cell. His mom, Jamie Demons King, has been crying out for years, exposing how her son barely gets clean clothes or even basic hygiene. Picture this, 1 shower a week. And when he does get it, he has to pay out of pocket for soap and shampoo from commissary, using scraps of money either sent from family or earned cleaning inside the jail. In one old clip, Melly's mom broke down in tears, saying even staying connected to his lawyers has been a nightmare with all the endless delays.
I will accept your no contest pleas as to each. I'm going to find a factual basis to support each based upon my review of each electronic probable cause affidavit as well as your stipulation in court here today. I'm going to further find that you're right, that you have knowingly entered each plea with the advice of competent counsel who you've told me that you are satisfied with, that you understand the nature of the charges and the consequences of the plea. Accordingly, and pursuant to the negotiated agreement, I will sentence you as follows. In case number 19, 1871 CF10A as to count 3 and count 4. I will adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 10 years in Florida State Prison. That will be followed by 6 years of reporting probation. I will impose mandatory court costs.
She admitted she gets emotional just talking about the pain her son's been living through. Visitation has been nothing short of heartbreaking ever since COVID flipped the rules upside down. No more real face-to-face moments, just 30-minute video calls once a week, every word tapped and monitored. Phone calls, $10 for 15 minutes, draining families dry just to hear a familiar voice. And when Melly finally locks eyes with his family in court, the emotion hits hard. Back in June 2025, after 2,320 days inside, he tried to sneak his mom emotion, and the look on their faces said more than words ever could. But the worst nightmare of all is the so-called medical care, which is basically neglect hiding behind a badge. In February 2024, Melly filed a federal lawsuit demanding over $1 million, blasting his treatment as cruel and unusual punishment. And the receipts back him up. A broken hand left untreated for months, an abscessed tooth yanked out with no anesthesia, mental health meds denied again and again. That's not healthcare, that's straight up torture. The Broward County Jail itself is a hellhole that should have been shut down ages ago. It's been under federal consent decree since 2013 for unconstitutional treatment, but nothing's changed. Mold climbing the walls, clogged toilets flooding cells, spoiled food crawling with rodents, and undercooked slop handed out like it's a meal. Mix in the brutal Florida heat-baking cells with no proper AC and non-stop banging and screaming echoing through the halls, and you've got conditions designed to break a person's soul. And just when Melly thinks maybe he's about to catch a break, the system rips it away. Bond has been denied again and again, the latest rejection hitting in May 2025, more than 6 years into his stay. Each denial slams the door tighter, leaving him caged with nothing but fading hope and stolen time. His legal team threw everything at the wall, offering house arrest, ankle monitors, even 24-hour private security paid for by his label. But the judges weren't budging, calling him both a flight risk and a danger to the streets, waiving those witness tampering claims as proof. And with the retrial constantly pushed back, the delays themselves feel like punishment. Now it's locked in for January 2027, meaning by the time jury selection starts, Melly could be closing in on 3,000 days, over 8 years, rotting behind bars without a single verdict. Think about it, sentence. Melly was only 19 when those cuffs first snapped on his wrists. Now he's losing his entire 20s locked in a cage, watching his youth vanish while waiting on a system that refuses to give him closure. His federal lawsuit ripped the mask off what's been happening behind those walls. 23-hour solitary confinement that feels like psychological torture.
Top at 6, we begin with a stunning development in the double murder trial of YNW Melly.
After days of deliberations, the jury was deadlocked, leading the judge to declare a mistrial. And local 10 Joseph Ojo was at the courthouse in Fort Lauderdale with reaction.
Broken hand and rotting tooth, meals crawling with maggots, showers coated in black mold, and guards going overboard with force, including pepper spraying him back in 2022. Even though the case got partially tossed in July 2025, because the court claimed he had to go through state remedies first, the damage was already clear. The details painted a picture so brutal, it would be harsh even for convicted criminals, let alone someone who's technically still presumed innocent. And the toll is written all over him. His mom told Complex in 2024 that her son wasn't the same, more withdrawn, tormented by nightmares, dropping weight. In court, cameras caught him breaking down, like that viral moment when he realized how many days he'd been stuck inside. The confident hitmaker, who once climbed Billboard, now looks like a man barely holding it together, just struggling to survive another sunrise in that box. Even his music, the one lifeline that gave him purpose, has fallen silent. He managed to release Melly Versus, Melvin in 2020 using old recordings, but by 2025, the vault was empty. No new tracks, no fresh projects. For an artist who used his voice to reach the world, the silence is deafening. Even the once booming hashtag Free Melly wave that dominated social media has slowed to a drip. Because after years of delays, even supporters are running out of faith. And then there's his defense. It's a circus. In August 2025, Melly fired his entire legal team and brought in Drew Findlay, the same powerhouse attorney who once defended NBA YoungBoy. The shakeup partly came because his old lawyer caught heat in his own criminal probe. But let's be real, this move screams desperation. When you're switching lawyers this late in the game, it usually means the strategy is crumbling in the background. The psychological damage of being trapped in this endless pretrial limbo is something the courts refuse to face. Melly went from a streaming giant with millions of fans to a young man locked in solitary, counting days while his youth slips away.
State, is it the same terms that you discussed previously? Is there anything different?
No, Your Honor, that has changed. Just correctly reflecting on the forms.
So the preforms to me look like on the 19th case as to the 2 counts of accessory after the fact, as well as to all 4 counts in the 23 case. These are going to be adjudications, 10 years Florida State prison, followed by, that's a 6 years probation? 6 years probation. All counts will run concurrently, all sentences run concurrently with one another.
Every pushback steals opportunities, family milestones, and basic life moments most people take for granted. And now, with Borland's plea hanging heavy, Melly's future looks darker than ever, because come January 2027, if that retrial ends in conviction, he's staring at life without parole, maybe even the death penalty. And even if by some wild twist Melly beats the case, the scars are already etched into his story forever. Nearly a whole decade wasted behind bars, prime career years gone for good, and his mental health shredded to pieces. Justice? For Melly, it feels more like punishment without a verdict, a system grinding him down long before a jury even gets the chance to decide his fate. But to really understand how he fell into this nightmare, you gotta rewind to his beginnings. Melly's criminal record reads like a caution sign flashing in neon, proof of what happens when raw talent gets swallowed whole by the streets. Trouble started young, just 16 years old when he was cuffed for allegedly letting shots fly into a crowd outside Vero Beach High School. No one was hit, but the charges were heavy. 3 felony counts of aggravated assault with a fatal weapon and 1 misdemeanor for firing a gun in public. That one mistake got him expelled, pushed into homeschooling, and set the stage for the chaos that kept haunting him. And the cycle didn't slow down. While still on probation from that 2015 mess, Melly slipped again in January 2017, violated for hanging with felons and holding a firearm. It was like the streets had him locked in a loop, pulling him deeper and deeper, yanking him away from the very music that could have saved him. It didn't take long for more charges to land, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and that earned him a year behind bars. But here's the twist of fate. During that bid, he scribbled down pieces of what would become his breakout single, Murder on My Mind. The track hit the streets in 2017 while he was still locked up, dripping with irony, because the lyrics spoke about ending someone and drowning in regret. What should have been his golden ticket ended up being a double-edged blade, since prosecutors later pointed to those very bars as evidence of his mindset. When Murder on My Mind blew up, reaching number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 2018, Melly became a star overnight. But the backlash came just as fast. Critics and anti-violence groups accused him of glorifying homicide. And when the real-life double homicides hit headlines, his fame and infamy became tangled like never before. Suddenly, the track that made him famous was being used to dig his grave in court, and the chaos didn't stop. Just 3 months after tasting freedom in March 2018, Melly and Borland were back in cuffs by June after a traffic stop in Lee County, Florida. Another firearm charge stacked with weed possession. The fact he couldn't even stay clean for half a year showed how strong the streets still had their grip on him, even as his music career was finally catching fire. The wildest chapter came when Melly tried leveling up in the industry, and instead ran headfirst into chaos. His most infamous clash went down at Atlantic Records' New York offices in mid-2018, when word is NBA YoungBoy and Quando Rondo allegedly jumped him right inside the label's building. This wasn't just petty rap drama, it was gang politics bleeding straight into the business world. With Melly rumored to be tied to the Bloods and YoungBoy repping Baton Rouge heavy, the tension was bound to explode. And the beatdown wasn't some small dust-up. Reports say 19-year-old Melly got punched and stomped in a hallway while he was there trying to sign a deal. YNW Sack Chaser even broke it all down in a video later, blasting YoungBoy and his crew, and that very clip would end up resurfacing in court, adding more weight to the storm of evidence circling Melly's name. But instead of folding after the ambush, Melly doubled down, calling in reinforcements like King Von and Fredo Bang. That turned a hallway scuffle into a full-blown proxy battle.
I ain't telling about no small. I can do 5 to 10 years, but 20 to life, boy, yeah, going down, boy. I ain't telling about no smiles. I don't know nothing about that. I don't know what you say about Nunu and God.
YoungBoy never called him out directly in songs, but fans swore his Florida Ops bars and vet were aimed straight at Melly. Quando Rondo only poured gasoline on it with end of story, bragging about jumping someone's brother, while Melly fired back with slick subliminals about keeping iron close for anyone trying to knock him down. But this wasn't just a rap feud. It was tangled in a whole web of street politics. Melly's alleged ties to the G-Shine Bloods put him in the crosshairs of rival crews across different regions, and fame only painted the target brighter. Even inside his own YNW family, jealousy started bubbling. That toxic cocktail of rivalries and resentment, prosecutors claim, set the stage for the October 2018 homicides of Sack Chaser and Juvie. Then came the mental health twist that left the case even murkier. In 2019, Melly claimed he struggled with dissociative identity disorder, saying his alter ego, Kevin, was the one responsible for violent acts, including the slayings. His mom backed him, pointing to trauma and narcotic use as proof. His lawyers even pushed for a competency evaluation in 2022, but the court shut it down cold. Critics blasted it as a last-ditch sympathy card, while die-hard fans argued it was a real cry for help from a young man unraveling under the weight of it all. Prosecutors painted an even darker picture, branding the whole YNW crew as nothing more than a criminal gang tied to the Bloods. They waved around 123 text messages they claimed linked Melly to gang life. And during the 2023 trial, they dumped all the dirty laundry on the table. Rival beefs, money disputes, and the constant battle over territory and respect. At that point, it wasn't about rap anymore. It was about survival in a world where one wrong move could leave you 6 feet under. And the rap world, it couldn't look away. Fans were split. Half swore Melly was innocent, half said his lyrics predicted everything. Even Kendrick Lamar dragged his name into the middle of his battle with Drake, rapping, "If not, I'm YNW Melly," a line fans instantly linked to betrayal between friends. That one bar proved just how far Melly's story had seeped into hip-hop. It turned into both a cautionary tale and a scandal nobody could ignore. Melly fired back saying he was honored but appalled by Kendrick's jab, and that reaction showed how symbolic his case had become. His name is now shorthand for betrayal in rap culture. Kevin Gates kept it blunt on The Breakfast Club, saying, "Killing friends, that's snake behavior. No real one does that." And Boosie Badazz weighed in all the way back in 2019, tweeting, "Pray for Melly, but if he did it, that's cold. Family first. No cap, RIP to the fallen YNW." Even his support came with a warning. That's what made the betrayal sting so deep.
I will sentence you as follows. In case number 19, 1871 CF10A, after count 3 and count 4, I will adjudicate you guilty, sentence you to 10 years in Florida State Prison.
The YNW squad never looked like a business arrangement. They looked like real brothers. Sack Chaser and Juvie weren't just crew. They were kids from the same Florida blocks, chasing the same dream. But once whispers started that Melly's fame and money fueled paranoia, people saw success itself as the poison that cracked their bond. DJ Academics added gasoline with viral clips, calling the case living proof that loyalty is dead in rap. And the internet ate it up. Posts like, daily reminder, YNW Melly slayed his childhood friends, racked up thousands of shares. In the digital court of public opinion, Melly's already guilty, even before a jury makes the call. And just when things couldn't get messier, family drama leaked into the mix. Back in 2019, Dante Thawgift Taylor popped up claiming to be Melly's biological father. He demanded DNA tests and blasted Melly's lyrics about growing up without a dad, calling them fake sob stories for sympathy. It never blew into a full battle, but it showed how personal skeletons turned into public weapons once Melly landed under the microscope. What makes it even sadder is how his alleged gang ties and rap sheet ended up burying the talent that once had him soaring. A kid with raw skill and Billboard hits is now remembered less for music and more for betrayal, gang politics, and courtroom battles. His legacy hangs in the balance, and the big question lingers. Does loyalty even exist in the rap game anymore? Tracks like Mixed Personalities with Kanye West showed Melly had the star power to break into mainstream superstardom, but after the 2018 homicides, everything flipped upside down. His music stopped being seen as pure art and started being twisted into evidence in a courtroom. Instead of being remembered for his unique voice and raw talent, his name is now tied to betrayal, bloodshed, and headlines that overshadow everything he could have given hip-hop. And the violations of street code just keep stacking. First came the whispers that Melly betrayed his own crew over jealousy and money. Now Borland's plea deal adds another brutal betrayal to the pile, cementing this saga as one of the darkest cautionary tales rap has ever witnessed. The culture isn't just watching for a guilty or not guilty verdict. They're watching because this case shows what happens when the streets swallow everything. The music, the friendships, the loyalty, and even lives themselves. Convicted or not, the scars are permanent. The YNW name will always carry the weight of this story, and Melly's reputation is already burned beyond repair. It's a reminder that in the deadly mix of rap and street politics, there are no real winners. Everybody loses in the end. And that's where we'll wrap it up for now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Melly still has a shot at flipping his story? Or is his legacy locked in forever? Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Your restaurant. This ain't your restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my pocket right now. I ain't tripping on you. I ain't tripping. Get the hell out of my face. I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to you. Who the hell is he? What's your name? My name King. You know it and your mama know it. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Tell your mama Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. File show. Come back. What? On game what? On game what? Come here. I'll show you what I do. Come here, I'll show you what I do. Come here.
So King Harris's whole life just spiraled after Tiny finally hit T.I with those divorce papers. And she did it right after King's reckless arrest blew up online. The crazy part is, T.I didn't even bother fighting the split. He just let it ride, and now the family's in shambles. People are pointing fingers everywhere, and it's getting ugly. Some say the parents spoiled King rotten, while others say King threw it all away just to play gangster.
I need you to step out the vehicle.
What you want to do? You want to take my gun off my head?
Yes, sir.
There's one in the head.
Does your buddy have one as well?
It's guns right here.
Alright, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires.
There's no safety. You gotta take.
There's no safety.
Just take
okay.
the clip out.
Well, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much. Let me just set this down right here. Dude, step out for me. Yes, sir. Place your hands behind your back for me. Alright, right now you're just being detained. You're not under arrest.
Are you straight? Where's your gun at?
I'm gonna be at the church.
For outsiders, Tiny and T.I breaking up might feel shocking since they've been through decades of love, kids, and chaos together. But behind closed doors, cracks had been forming for years, and the breaking point came in October 2024. That's when King's wild arrest put the entire family under a microscope and forced everyone's dirty laundry into the spotlight. It all went down at a gas station when King pulled out in his BMW, driving like he had nothing to lose, and nearly smashed into a police cruiser. And of course, the timing couldn't have been worse. When the officer stopped him, the first thing they smelled was straight-up weed pouring out of the car. Then, to make things even worse, they spotted a gun tucked in his waistband. At that point, it wasn't just reckless. It was career-ending vibes. They confiscated the weapon, cuffed him on the spot, and ran his name. That's when everything completely unraveled. Turns out, King wasn't just facing one mistake.
People hit me up like, King, I know you tired. You ain't getting no sleep. And the truth be told, before this little, I ain't been getting no sleep. You know what I'm saying? I just been outside working, lifestyle. You know, lifestyle just lifing. You know what I'm saying? And, but now I'm damn sure not getting no sleep. This up every morning, and then around the morning time, he like to do that little live concert I be doing with him. And, he like to walk around the house. So,
he had an active warrant dating all the way back to 2022. Overspeeding, driving on a suspended license, and even a DUI were still hanging over his head like a storm cloud. If King had just kept calm and moved smart that night, maybe he could have walked away with a slap on the wrist. But instead, every bad choice from his past came crashing down on him all at once. And when they tore him apart, fans clowning him, critics dragging him, and haters calling him a wannabe thug who blew a silver platter life to chase street clout. The wildest part about that leaked video was how different King looked. Like reality finally smacked him in the face. This wasn't the usual loudmouth King wilding out for social media clout. In the 30-minute clip, you could see it in his eyes. Regret. He wasn't snapping. He wasn't clowning. He was just sitting there, calm, like he finally realized the only way to keep this from getting worse was to play it cool and cooperate.
Of King. To make him look better, he said he know not true. Silver spoon, I ain't never ate with that day a day in my life.
Nigga, you did have a silver spoon.
Look, used to have to come to my grandma's house because I'm getting in the
You
fight.
cried like a baby to go to your grandmama's house.
Every day.
You used to hold your breath.
Every day.
I know you capping. I know you. I know you. I know you.
Shut up. Shut up.
I know you
Ain't no
though.
mystery about here.
I know you though.
Man,
I know
get
you
your
though.
shit.
I know you though. I know you. What's wrong with y'all? Why y'all doing that to me? Y'all know me. You know I stand on business.
And for King, that's rare, because we've all seen him act like he's untouchable in public. Even the arresting officer seemed caught off guard by how chill he stayed through the whole thing. But let's be real, it didn't save him. They still hauled him off to DeKalb County Jail, then transferred him to Pickens once that old warrant caught up with him. By the time the footage went viral, fans were already dragging him without mercy. One comment that blew up called him a trust fund prison punk, and people ate it up. Another went in, saying he hides behind his parents' money while pretending he's from the struggle. The internet was clowning him like never before. But here's the twist. King wasn't the only one catching heat from all this. His mess spilled right into his parents' marriage, ripping those cracks even wider until the whole thing collapsed.
Me and getting in my comments, telling me what to tell King, okay? I know my son. Think I ain't spoke to my son? Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas, his ass going to prison. If you got to keep this up, his ass going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. Can't nobody stop it but him. You know what I mean? I've already had that conversation. I've already made my peace with it. Cause I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's gonna turn out.
T.I tried to pose as the broken-hearted father, but Tiny, she was livid, and she came with receipts. In her divorce paperwork, she literally listed King's downward spiral as the final straw that pushed her to walk away for good. That's how deep this mess cut. The craziest part? T.I didn't even fight it. He didn't beg, he didn't push, he didn't try to fix anything. It was like he just threw his hands up and said, I did my part, the rest is on him. And to be fair, he wasn't lying. Back in 2022, when King first started trending for his reckless antics, T.I went online begging him to slow down before he ended up in a cell. He even told Tiny and King's grandmother that the boy was speeding straight into disaster. But nobody listened, and now it's exactly where they are. I kept warning everybody that they needed to keep a close eye on King before he completely threw his life away.
I know you. I know you. I know you. Shut up. Shut up. I know you.
Ain't no mystery about here.
I know you though. I know you know. I know you know.
And he wasn't just talking as a father. He was talking as a man who had already lived that nightmare. T.I. had been to prison, paid the price, and didn't want to watch his own son walk down the exact same road. But Tiny wasn't buying it at all. In fact, she used those same words as ammo in the divorce, flipping it right back on him. She claimed, I failed to step up as a real father, and that if he had been stricter and more present in King's life, maybe their son wouldn't have strayed so far off course. And honestly, she had a point, that I was bouncing in and out of prison from the very moment Tiny found out she was pregnant. By the time he was home for good, King was already used to growing up without a strong father figure around. And even when he was around, it didn't change much, because allegedly, T.I. was quick to ship King off to his grandmother's house instead of keeping him close. King himself once admitted that even though his parents were wealthy, he never really lived that lifestyle. He said his reality was living with his grandma, and the only times he'd even step foot in his parents' mansion were when cameras were rolling for their reality show. Imagine that. Only being welcomed into your parents' home when it was time to play the perfect family for TV. With a setup like that, it's no wonder King started seeking validation and distractions in the streets. And every stunt he pulled just dragged him closer to a future in handcuffs. One moment that really showed how far gone he was came during his infamous Waffle House meltdown in 2022. It all started over something as small as a worker accidentally adding pickles to his order.
A while ago, when T.I.'s son King was getting a lot of flack and a lot of heat in the media, that to me, he just looked like a young kid that wanted to prove to his father that he was a man too.
Instead of brushing it off, King blew up. He started screaming at the employee, recording the whole altercation, and blasting it on social media like it was some kind of flex. But instead of looking tough, the video just made him look like a spoiled brat who couldn't handle a sandwich, and fans quickly started questioning why T.I. was letting him run wild without consequences. When T.I. dropped that video warning King to straighten up, Tiny was all that tough talk should have happened years ago when King was still impressionable. Not now, after the damage was already done. Things cooled down for a bit, but T.I.'s disappointment in his son couldn't stay buried. It all came spilling out during an Atlanta Falcons game where a father-son argument exploded in front of everyone, and it didn't stop at words. The whole mess started when King tried to claim he didn't grow up privileged. That set T.I. off instantly. He jumped in, shutting King down by reminding him that he had a silver spoon from the start. King wasn't trying to hear it, and before anyone knew it, he was swinging on his own father. The clip spread like wildfire online, racking up thousands of views in hours, and people couldn't stop talking. Some were praising T.I. for finally checking his son, saying things like, "That discipline was overdue," and "If you don't correct them early, they'll turn on you later."
Just those motherfucking 12 pull up and they say, hey, who do you belong to? Who raised their hand? Somebody got to raise their hand.
I've been seeing him around too there a lot.
You gonna raise your own hand?
I've been seeing him around too, my God.
Huh?
But when you got drugs, it ain't.
I know that.
Y'all got drugs around those legal guns.
They called
It's not legal.
possession of a firearm and commission of a crime, sir. That is a felony.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Others just shook their heads, posting, "King's been out of control. Pray for their family." But while the internet was siding with T.I., Tiny was furious. To her, he didn't just discipline King, he humiliated him in front of the world. And when she got home to discover T.I. had straight up kicked King out of the house to fend for himself, that was the final straw. Tiny felt he had gone way too far, pushing her closer to walking away for good. And that wasn't the only grievance Tiny was carrying. In those divorce papers, she laid it all out. T.I.'s constant cheating, the violent streak she endured, and the years of empty promises about stood by him through betrayal after betrayal, only to watch him spin lies while building a tough guy image. By the time King crashed into his own chaos, Tiny wasn't just angry at her son. She was staring at the man who raised him and realizing the cycle had never been broken. That's why she finally pulled the trigger on the divorce. What really broke her was seeing King mirror his father's old mistakes, chasing the same jail stints and flexing the same reckless bravado that once gave T.I. his reputation. So when T.I. disowned King after that arrest, Tiny snapped. Because to her, he wasn't just cutting off his son, he was cutting off his own reflection.
I became a father, so I got 2 grandchildren now.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah, I got 2 granddaughters. I got a grandson on the way.
Wow.
King's about to have a son.
King's about to have a son. Congrats.
Yeah. And I told him I'm going to make this the greatest gangster of all times. I will raise this child to torture you the way you tortured me. I promise you, there will be an indictment in this young one.
And the saddest part, King is so desperate for his father's approval and wild like prison stripes are some kind of badge of honor. After that arrest footage leaked, some people even claim King set himself up on purpose, just to earn stripes and prove he belonged in the streets for real. Some people online actually claimed King had finally earned the street stripes he'd been chasing for years. They said he'd proven himself enough to wear the tough guy label he always wanted. Others argued it was never about the streets at all. It was about impressing his father, and every wild stunt was just a desperate play for T.I.'s respect. And judging by how things played out, maybe it worked. Remember that viral moment when T.I. and Boosie had to check their sons on camera? King and Boosie's boy, Tootie Raw, were supposed to be filming a music video, but instead of focusing on the music, they were busy flexing guns like they were in a trap house audition. That's when the dad stormed in, and you could hear the frustration in T.I.'s voice as he pressed King, demanding to know why he was so obsessed with looking hard when there were girls right there watching. It instantly turned into a lecture, and T.I. didn't hold back. He broke it down plain and simple. One slip-up, one wrong move with those guns, and their lives could be ruined forever. Both T.I. and Boosie were serious, and the look on their faces showed they weren't just talking for the cameras. This was about saving their sons before it was too late. On the surface, it looked like Ty was finally trying to reach King and stop him from running headfirst into disaster. But when Tiny heard about the whole scene, she was livid. Not because she approved of King's reckless behavior, but because she felt T.I. was once again airing their son's business for the world to see. And in her eyes, it was hypocritical. Because King wasn't doing anything he hadn't already seen his father do back in the day. But if the gun flashing wasn't enough to break her, what really pushed Tiny over the edge was King's baby mama drama. Out of nowhere, T.I. went on a podcast and casually announced that he was about to be a grandfather again because King had a baby on the way. Tiny was blindsided. To her, it sounded like T.I. was celebrating and endorsing King's behavior instead of calling it out. And then came the whispers, way older than him. Some people even speculated she only got with him to secure a bag, and that he was too young and naive to even realize it. But King, he didn't care one bit. He was hyped about fatherhood, bragging about it on social media, and by the time his baby was born in November 2024, he was over the moon. Posting nonstop, showing off his new role.
Think I ain't spoke to my son? Think I ain't told my son, his mama, and his grandmamas, his going to prison?
They saw a reckless kid pretending he was changed while the proof of his downfall was trending. They tried to stand by him, but the disappointment kept leaking through. And for Tiny, that was unforgivable. But the fact that T.I. was so ashamed of King that he didn't even want to share the same roof with him, that shattered her completely. So when those divorce papers landed, nobody was shocked. It was the final nail in a marriage that had been splitting for years. Tiny had reached her breaking point. She's done covering, done protecting, done saving face. Now it's all on T.I. Does he finally step up and repair what's left, or does he stay silent like he did with King? Because at this point, silence might mean the whole family is already finished. What do you think? Is this the end for T.I. and Tiny? Or can they bounce back from all this? And I'll catch you on the next one.
1 and 2 is murder in the first degree with a firearm. Those are capital offenses. The maximum and mandatory penalty is life in Florida State Prison. Counts 3 and 4 are accessory after the fact to murder in the first degree. Those are each first degree felonies. The maximum penalty is 30 years in Florida State Prison.
In the video, that is the first time detectives learned that there was actually 4 people in that gray Jeep, and that the defendant, Jamel Demons, is in the rear driver's side seat.
The vibes look decent. I'm gonna be honest with you. It don't look like nobody kind of beefing. Nobody look too excited. You know, if somebody kind of got into it, like niggas might be like, they're not just walking normal. Like everybody looks kind of chill.
New footage just dropped, and it's about to flip the whole YNW Melly homicide case upside down. For the first time, we're actually seeing what really went down that night with Borland and Melly, and the twist is wild. Somebody turned on their own homie once they hit an end, and that betrayal changed everything. October 26th, 2018 started out like any other night in the trap. Young hustlers grinding in the studio, chasing dreams, dodging demons. But by sunrise, 2 young kings were laid out cold.
And they sit and they walk side by side for an hour, that mile-long stretch, looking for evidence of this drive-by. Because evidence is the remnants a crime leaves behind. And in this case, the lack of evidence is very important.
And their day one brother was sitting in the county, facing double homicide charges. This is the brutal truth of how money, fame, and street politics twisted brotherhood into bloodshed. One of hip-hop's coldest betrayals. The YNW crew had been solid since they were shorties, running around Gifford, Florida, a hood where you either make it out or end up 6 feet under. YNW Melly, real name Jamel Demons, had been blowing up heavily off his banger, Murder on My Mind, and the streets were watching closely. But success brought pressure, and cracks started showing between him and his day ones, YNW Sack Chaser, Anthony Williams 21, and YNW Juvie, Christopher Thomas Jr., 19.
Melly looks defeated, man. It's been 7 years, bro. It's been 7 years. He looks defeated, bro. He looks defeated.
These weren't random homies. They had been riding together since little kids, born in the same struggle. The beef was brewing for months, and all of it came down to money. When Melly signed with 300 Entertainment for somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000 back in July 2018, his homies felt iced out. Text messages later dug up by the feds even showed Sack Chaser pressing Melly for his cut, straight up texting, "You blowing up, we are still eating crumbs. Pay up or we're done." In Gifford, loyalty was everything, and betrayal wasn't forgiven, it was punished. The YNW collective was built from pain, poverty, and survival. They'd been through shootouts, funerals, and sleepless nights together just trying to make it out of the mud.
Because at that location is where the cell phones of Christopher Thomas, Anthony Williams, and Jamel Demons all line up at 4:02 a.m. That point, afterwards, Mr. Demons' phone tracks with the 2 victims until about 4:20.
For years, the YNW crew moved like a unit. Success for one was supposed to mean success for all. But the music game doesn't